Yeah, man. So it's funny. I was watching NFL films, like the
Oh,
greatest show of all time. I have to say, John Facenda,
his voice. Yeah.
Keith Jackson, John Facenda. Man, these are the voices,
Well, the
of my
Sable,
youth.
Sable and Facenda. I don't know if Keith Jackson was on NFL Films.
No, not
Was he?
NFL films, but just hearing Keith Jackson's voice on a Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning. Oh
Well,
man,
here we go, boys. Here
you
we
know,
go, fellas. And here comes
University of
Buckeye.
Notre Dame. Yes.
Yeah, no, he's
Wow.
great. You
Uh,
know, he was great doing it. You know, he did the Yankee games in the 70s. Are you
I didn't
aware
know
of that?
that. Oh, really?
Yeah, I just looked at highlights and he was doing the game.
Really?
Especially those great Yankee teams. I don't know if it was just the World Series,
Yeah.
but like 77 and
Recently.
78. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
look, same here.
You serious?
White wine.
Oh,
White
nice.
wine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, class, man. Look at that. Unlike
Mhm.
Pelosi, class, right? We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean,
What a classy woman. Well, but let me just give you a little introduction of where I'm at. So, yeah, I'm watching the NFL films, and hey, let me tell you, going back to the Super Bowl halftime show, I think that was
yeah,
a I think that was a disgrace. I have to say, to use the president's word, it was
yeah.
horrific. And the more I think about it, the more I'm offended by it. Two Latin American women at the top of their game who are supposed to be
Well,
mature,
one's
elder
American.
statesmen.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. All right. Yeah, right. Fair enough. Okay. But Latinas, okay, that's fine. But regardless of that, I mean, I think it's true that they kind of set back womanhood by centuries because what they did, in fact, was play up the sexuality of women for the titillation of the rest of us. It was unbelievable. I mean, Shakira, flitting her tongue in front of the camera, and
I didn't
how,
understand that. I
the
didn't
whole the
understand.
whole thing began with J Lo spreading her crotch with a thong in the front and a thong in the back, and bending over backwards in front of the camera.
One
It
thong.
was no, but I mean, what I don't know what you call it, man. She had something this thin, covering the front and covering the back, whatever you want to call it.
Oh.
You see my point? I mean, compare that to. I'm not sure if you know about this, but the first use of a celebrity at a Super Bowl halftime event was Super Bowl four with the Kansas City Chiefs. Ironic
Hmm.
enough, yeah. And that was, believe it or not, I think, and I've been looking at this very, very much. I love the Prince concert. You love the Michael Jackson one.
I like them both.
I kind of like the Janet
I like
Jackson
them both.
one, to be honest, except for the
Malfunction.
malfunction, right?
Yeah.
But along with the Prince concert, let me tell you, the Super Bowl four was unbelievable. It was in the Big Easy, and they had that jazz element going, and they had Lionel Hampton on the xylophone. It
I
was
hung out
amazing.
with him many a time.
What are you talking about?
Lionel Hampton. Lionel
Really?
Hampton. Yeah, actually in Harlem. When my dad was involved in politics, with Pataki, he was a big Pataki guy, I believe, or got
Really?
some awards. Yeah, and I met him at a couple functions in the early 90s. He
Really?
had to be 90 something in the
Wow.
90s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Was he from
Very
Harlem?
nice guy.
He's from Harlem or
I
what's
have
what?
no idea. I'm not sure. But wow, nice guy.
Yeah,
May I say one
my
thing?
father used to run into Cab Calloway all the time. He ran into him
Wow,
like
I
three
love him.
times because he used to go to the track, you know,
Wow.
the
May
track.
I say one thing?
Yeah, man, tell me.
I have mixed messages about the performance.
Okay, tell me.
I think they did well artistically. They performed well. Everyone
Okay.
I was with
Yeah,
was enamored with it.
yeah.
Especially the guys. The
Hmm.
women, were like, wow, they look fantastic. The men were excited that these were beautiful women.
Yeah.
But I could concur with what you're saying along the lines with what Ben Shapiro says about the feminist movement
Yeah.
or a portion of it,
Yeah.
in that he says the feminist movement in some ways is about liberation
Yeah.
and about denouncing men looking at them as sex objects or only sex objects,
Right.
but they combat that
Yeah.
by being the sex object
Right.
and saying my sexuality
Hmm.
is my freedom, my choice.
Right.
So they only some of them, and I'm not
Uh-huh.
saying this is the case
Yeah.
with the Super Bowl, but
Yeah.
some stoop low,
Yeah.
like the men,
Yeah.
which they were trying to remove the shackles of, right? The
Mhm.
man who's overly masculine who looks at them as a sex object. So
Yeah.
instead of combating that and saying, no, men, you're wrong, we could do better than that.
Yeah.
We're not sex objects.
Yeah.
Uh, let's get that out of your head. They almost mimic what they were fighting against.
Well, yeah, you mean they're contradicting themselves that they're doing, right?
Yes.
On one hand,
exactly.
On one hand, they want to titillate you with their sexuality, regardless of age, notwithstanding their age. And on the other hand, they want to say, don't objectify us. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, you say
I hate the mixed message. I have to say, at least be consistent here, for goodness sake. The problem they have with almost all movements, from socialism to feminism to your position on immigration, their position on whether on the idea of American exceptionalism, or that there's something exceptional about Western Europe. There are people who scream that these are the worst societies on the planet, the most racist, the most most homophobic, but they still live here, and it doesn't seem like they're going to move to Canada anytime shortly, no matter who wins or not.
I concur. I had this conversation with someone yesterday on one of these sites, and in summary, I just ended up. I summarized it. I said, why do people literally risk their lives to come to the West?
Yeah, exactly.
What does
Dinesh D'Souza say? People vote with their feet in the end.
Yeah.
Right?
You know who I think said it first before him was the Milton Friedman, I think, said it first.
Well, that would make sense. Oh, yeah, I think he did. I think I saw that. Yeah. Friedman was.
But people vote with their feet. There's a reason why people are literally risking their lives to come here. Yeah. The question is why. Yeah. The benefits that the West offers people, not only in the ability to gain a monetary sense, but all the other freedoms. Yeah. End of story. Yeah. You could tell me, hey, the Catholics, what the Spanish did was horrific, and what we did here or there. Yeah. You could tell me slavery's horrific. Okay. Yeah. But the Western world ended slavery, right? Right. It still goes on to this day. Right. Freedom of speech, as long as we have it. I know there's a constant attack by Antifa and some of the Marxists on it, but we still have that. So that's how you could summarize it. I told you in the past that I've heard debates by some intellectuals, and they're debating, let's say, the theocracy of a Muslim country with the United States, and they talk about the pros and negatives of both, but they never talk about if your daughter who's graduating from NYU or Columbia, how come she's not going to get a job in Chad? No, really, or Venezuela, Why is she excited about spring breaking in Miami, or going to Rome, right?
The hypocrisy, like those who preach the cult of or the ideology of socialism, for example, they're typically rich and uber elite, for goodness sake. Okay, very many of them. Okay, Sanders is not poor, for goodness sake. I love the division between only 100 millionaires versus billionaires. They try to make the cutoff point at billionaires as if that's going to solve any problems, and if that's a justifiable distinction between rich and almost rich. I mean, that's crazy. It's so crazy.
And I think many of them are insulated from their vote, as we discussed before. Yeah. I had someone come to my apartment today to fix the drain. Yeah. He's from Albania. Nicest guy in the world. Yeah. Very conservative.
Yeah, I knew a lot of Albania. I had a lot of Albanian students.
Many of them come from
between Paris and Bulgaria when I was at the American University. And
many of them
are beautiful people, man.
Yeah, they're fleeing Albania, right? Your favorite Mother Teresa, but they're fleeing.
One of the greatest people of all time. Yeah.
Yeah. Now the question is, we had this discussion. Why do people come here? They come here for an opportunity on every level. Why are they not pushing the government that they left? Right. So simple. I mean, this isn't difficult.
It's not intellectual. I mean, all we're really doing is wrestling with views of the world, right? Yeah.
Yeah. What bothers me is the mantra by some of these people. They say it over and over again. Equality. Yeah. As Ben Shapiro says, yes, you do have equality. There's probably incredible equality in the Congo. Everyone's poor. That's what you want. If you want that equality of horrific results, you have it,
Right.
that's what you're getting from these countries.
So anyway, I don't know if you know this. It's actually Jay-Z that choreographed the halftime show.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah. I mean, but just okay. But going back to the hypocrisy, I mean, Jay-Z and Beyonce are fabulously wealthy, and they've had a wonderful opportunity at making a wonderful living. For goodness sake, they didn't stand up. They knelt for the national anthem. They orchestrated this thing that amounted to what seemed to be soft porn. This is the national event, so far as sporting is concerned, and it's presented to the families of America and the families of the world, and to watch what amounted to pornography or soft pornography. I'm sorry.
I never thought about that.
Okay, I think it was so degrading. I felt bad for J-Lo. That was my initial reaction, particularly J-Lo, because I thought she was a little bit too old for this, and I didn't find her very fit. But that's neither here nor there. I didn't find the fat. I found it overweight to wear something like that. But all right, but you like them thick. All right, I hear you, man. Okay, that's not the issue. That's not the issue. The issue is at a certain point in age, I think one should. I think one should present themselves in a different way. That's all I'm trying to say. Either way, I think what we said in the last podcast. There's something perfect about sports, particularly American sports, particularly the NFL and the NCAA, college football. Goodness, there's something pure about this. If we could get the money out of the equation, there's something beautiful about this, especially at the college level. And I feel that this very much
like Bernie Sanders.
This very much tainted what's beautiful about the Super Bowl. I hope we return back to a more decent time, like I saw in Super Bowl 6, Super Bowl 4, and Super Bowl 6. Actually, who was in Super Bowl 6?
What year was that? Was it Cowboys beating the Dolphins?
Yeah, there you go, man. Kept them to 3 points, man.
23-3 or 21-3?
Yeah, kept them 3 points, man. Wow, that's amazing, right? Yep.
Well, every Super Bowl the Cowboys won. Yeah. They blew the team out when they won.
Yeah.
The ones they lost by narrow margins.
Yeah.
Remember, they lost to the Colts 16-13.
Yeah.
And they didn't start Staubach.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Oh man, the Cowboys, man. Yeah.
I love them more than anything.
Yankees of old and Cowboys. Yeah, I can take that.
I even like the Cowboys more than the Yankees.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm pissed off at the destruction of Yankee Stadium. I have to say, what a lack of respect. But for some reason, I kind of forgive the Cowboys. It's kind of weird for destroying Texas Stadium. I don't know why. Even though that should have been preserved as well too. I think you got to preserve these.
You got to preserve Yankee Stadium as we discussed numerous times. Why not have it as a park in the middle?
Yeah.
Have this around it.
That would have been like the most important shrine museum, particularly for sports in the world, especially in the United States. For goodness sake, you don't do that. Just like you don't destroy destroy the World Cup stadium in Rio de Janeiro. You don't do stuff like that. Anyway, this is an aside, but let me tell you, classic stadiums in Stanford at oh my goodness, the Sugar Bowl, Tulane University, that was all destroyed.
Was it?
Princeton's Palmer Stadium, which has more national champions than any other football program.
No, don't
count the 1963 and prior to the 1940s.
Oh, destroyed?
Yeah, that was destroyed. Palmer Stadium was destroyed, and they created something very ugly in its place. Stanford was the most beautiful stadium I've ever seen in my life, and that was destroyed. And they hosted a Super Bowl, for goodness sake. Thank God that they haven't touched Harvard Stadium and the Yale Bowl.
Which
are gorgeous. Which are absolutely
Pasadena's beautiful.
They destroyed Columbia's old stadium. I saw some, it was much better than what they have now. Now it seems to have no character to it whatsoever.
I was there.
Soldier Field is like the greatest stadium on the planet. They destroyed that one for the most part.
Did they totally
half? They
Does it still have the columns?
They kind of but you can't really see them. You can't enjoy them only from the outside, but not from the inside. And they put some like plasticky type UFO type structure in the middle, which is interesting, I suppose. But it breaks my heart.
Architecture and the boring architecture is online with the whole push for communism.
Oh, by the way, I don't know if you know this. There's so much happening, and that's for good by this president, it's not just this president, the Trump movement, and the fact that he's so connected to the pulse of most of us, I think, in the country and in the world, who, from art to architecture to central fundamental moral values. Do you know that there's an executive order now that all government buildings have to be built in the Greco-Roman style? Did you know that?
Oh, I never heard that. I heard of it.
Yeah, they built some absolute monstrosity in Austin, Texas, in Miami, and I forgot where else, and San Francisco. And now they're returning back. And the point is that there should be some dignity when it comes to governmental buildings.
Yeah, it really hit me when I went to visit you in Boston, maybe 25 years ago.
They destroyed the old part of Boston.
What was that? Faneuil Hall? How do you say it?
Faneuil Hall? Well, no, outside of Faneuil Hall. Yeah, it's the city hall. The administrative. Well, they just leveled. But what kills me, they leveled an 18th century, 19th century neighborhood. Are they out of their minds? I mean, they are out of their minds. What about the destruction of churches around the world in the hundreds and thousands?
Well, there has to
and altars.
Definitely
for the sake of Vatican II.
Hold on, there definitely is a push to I don't know, change our DNA and our way of thinking.
I think it's about perverting things that are holy in a sense. I think that's what it is. Trying to pervert,
like a building that might inspire you,
yeah,
and make you see the beauty of.
But that's kind of weird, because it seems to me that they would want to destroy churches but preserve the holiness of governments, because the whole push over the last 2 generations has been the celebration of government. That's crowded out everything else in our life, from the family on up.
Yeah, but I don't think it would make sense for them to keep the remnants of the past, but to build a new future and to build,
Well, then maybe it's bad taste, because it seems to me that they're going to push socialism the way that they have been. There's been nothing but in the advent, the onward march of socialism for a century and a half, that it seems to me that you would try to make your governmental buildings as dignified as possible relative to everything else. So that becomes new religion.
The whole push of socialism to remove the beauty, the glitz, the glamour of a building, and just make it.
Yeah, but I would imagine that the government buildings would be an exception. But then I would account for bad taste. Maybe they think, like, for example, I have a friend, who's an art critic, and all I did was show her something that I had an image of the Mona Lisa. And she was like, oh! I thought she was, choking on her coffee, that she was about to throw. Yeah. I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, it's not like Reinhardt's black canvases or Jackson Pollock's drip painting. I'm like, are you serious? Rauschenberg, remember Rauschenberg? Rauschenberg's goat cadaver?
One can't just say they are totally different and I appreciate them both, or I do not value the Mona Lisa, but I value the artists who compose the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
You can say I like modern art.
Yeah.
But that reaction is ridiculous.
Yeah, anyway, so let me just go back to my understanding of what happened with the Super Bowl. I think it was a travesty against everything that's wonderful about the sport.
When you say the whole family's involved,
and American football, and how that there's something so precious about this, something that you really realize when you don't live in the States anymore, when it's essentially a one-sport country. This is football country. A little bit of rugby, and that's about it. Just a little bit of rugby, But let me tell you, man, there's something so precious. Right? I recommend, for the health of people's mental and spiritual well-being, to watch as much of the old NFL films as possible with the voice of Facenda. To catch the Honeymooners. Don't ask me why. There's something about the Honeymooners I just love so much. Maybe a little of I Love Lucy, and that's about it, man, for goodness sake. But anyway, let me just
have UFC fighting in Europe, or is that?
Yeah, they do. They're into that. France has, by way of Nigeria, right? They have probably the greatest UFC fighter in the world today. Anyway, look, I'm just saying. So Super Bowl 4 had Lionel Hampton, and had this wonderful. Oh man, it was so beautiful. They had this one portion. I forgot who was performing. Some operatic star with Goodness, I forgot her name. Okay, with an Italian name, and she was with another person, and they had this down home New Orleans type sound, beautiful. Then they had all the marching bands from that area, as usual. I don't think they have Grambling State, which they usually had around that time. It was awesome. And
who did they beat? The Vikings?
Carol Channing. Chiefs versus oh man, I'm losing.
Vikings must have been Vikings.
Oh yeah, the Vikings. Yeah. Okay. If you forget, just mention the Vikings, the Broncos of old, and Buffalo. Man, it's going to be one of them probably.
Yeah. No, they lost a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, Super Bowl VI. Okay, the Nets starred Carol Channing again and Ella Fitzgerald. Did you know that?
I actually saw that one. Yeah.
Oh man, no, the halftime show, because no one can get a good copy of that. Really?
I think I saw that.
Oh, you gotta pass that to me, because I'm really interested in that. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that this is evidence of the moral divide and the moral rot, I should say, of America and of the West and of much of the world, maybe the entire world. And I think there are two Americas, there are two Western worlds at play. We're in a cultural civil war, and yet again, I think it showed kind of I bet you there was something very cynical about that halftime show. It's Jay-Z and Beyonce putting their finger up about this, Trump.
Well, I just want to say one thing.
Trump America. And let me just say, also, I didn't realize that LeBron James called the president a bum last year with reference to Steph Curry rejecting the offer to come to the White House. And he said that, it used to be an honor to go to the White House until you got there. Right. Okay. And then he celebrates, and he's all political when it comes to the Chinese communists and the way that they're butchering the free speech movement in Hong Kong. I don't get it. But you tell me.
If I could just say something, we discussed this last time, yesterday. It's all the West shaming, as Professor Hansen said.
Yep.
I do not think these guys know the whole issue, or they know the correct issues. For example, if Beyonce or Jay-Z have disdain for America, the question is, as Sol will say, compared to what? For example, yes, there are minorities, African Americans, who are unjustly killed in some cases by police officers. But as Ben Shapiro says, I hate to just quote everyone, but it gives me validity. There aren't many of them. Do you know why? This is what Ben Shapiro says. He says there aren't many cases where African Americans are unjustly killed by police. This is what Ben Shapiro says. He says, do you know why? Because we know all of their names. But the left will make you think as though there are 500 a week being killed by police who come out and have coffee in the morning and say, I'm going to kill someone. It's premeditated.
Right.
There's never any talk. And Chris, I am blacker than anything else the way we grew up. No, my best friends were your best friends were Irish. Mine were African American.
You're the opposite of Oreo cookie, right? Okay, you're like, white on the outside and black in the middle, right?
I grew up, my best friends.
I hear you, man. No, I hear you. That's what I'm saying.
My best friends were Jamaican. Okay, so I care.
I'm with you too. I'm with you too, man.
But there's never talk about the other side.
Yeah.
There's never talk about police officers who are walking on eggshells in these neighborhoods because it's not just made up. They know 3 people were killed here yesterday. There are guns here. For the year, 20 people were killed in this project or something. I might be exaggerating. So I'm not making excuses for bad behavior, but we have to come together. As Jim Brown stated when Kaepernick was protesting. Jim Brown, who can debate Brown? Jim Brown said, I do not appreciate you denouncing my flag. It is the only country I know of. I'm paraphrasing, and I love America. But if Kaepernick would have said, look, there are some police officers who are doing the wrong things, but our own people are allowing this to happen. Look at our neighborhoods. We need to get better. How do we get better? How do we communicate with police and let them know we're on the same level they are? How do we eliminate the bad people from our neighborhood? If he would have said that and not wore a Che Guevara shirt, which is the antithesis of him making $10 million a year and wearing cops with pig socks, which is basically telling you want anarchy, right?
Yeah.
Or you prefer these theocracies to our country, which has a freedom, Western thought, theology, and believing in science, I should say. We adopted the Greek science and theology and
scientific method, scientific mind.
Exactly.
Okay, fine.
We melded it together to create the West.
Yeah.
If they can make firm arguments like that, then we'd be fine. But there are a lot of ignorant people out there who just have their own horse in the race. I remember Spike Lee. He never spoke about any of the ills of his community.
Well, it's kind of weird. Let me tell you, there's some professor who gave a TED talk. I don't know the validity of it, and he suggested that over the last 2 generations or 3 generations, IQ has increased dramatically. That's hard for me to believe.
Yeah, I heard about that.
By 20 to 30 points. I mean, that's crazy. Maybe even more than 30 points.
Maybe that's a
hard for me to believe.
Because people think they're right. I mean,
Yeah, so what explains this? Because we're of the mind that we're in some sort of a dark age. How do you end up in a dark age with a higher IQ? I don't understand that. So
what does that mean?
We have a capacity. Maybe we have a capacity to think more sharply, but we just don't use it. It's been dulled down by poor information, or we're drowning information, and we have no way to sift through what's relevant, what's not relevant.
Well, I think there's so much information out there that people have become specialists for one thing. For example, you speak to someone like Kaepernick or Jay-Z, and they could probably tell you the 10 people that were killed by police last year who shouldn't have been killed. Or then they could tell you how maybe, I don't know, the slave trade was implemented.
Yep.
But they couldn't tell you the other side of it, meaning.
Yeah.
For example, there's a lot of people who would tell you slavery in America. America's horrific. But then they couldn't comment on slavery today.
Yeah.
Or they probably couldn't tell you that, wow, all Western countries have abolished slavery.
Yeah.
I'm not in any way lessening slavery in America. Come on. It's horrific. But which countries have banned slavery? Yeah. And why does it go on today? I don't know if that's the case. I don't know how they evaluate this IQ. Maybe our brains are more stimulated with constant information. But I don't know. It seems as though people maybe 25 years ago were more rational to some degree.
So let me just go back to my original point here, which is,
I know?
It's unbelievable. I mean, I'm trying to understand what's happening here. I think we all are. So we have, on one hand, by all indicia of success, we have what seems to be maybe the greatest economic boom just about that our country has seen, certainly within the last few generations. Maybe at least since the Second World War. We have a stronger country. We have a stronger economy. There's more opportunity. Wages at the lower end of the labor queue are rising relative to the higher end of the labor queue.
Yes, I've heard that.
So, I mean, we'll talk about whether that's true or not, in a moment. But on the other hand, juxtaposed by what seems to be unbridled anger, angst, madness, I think there really is a condition called Trump derangement syndrome, as we said.
Yeah,
I think there's something, and also those who are above the fray, who just have an ideological bone, or maybe a very personal, political, hateful, bone to pick, and they're very deceptive, particularly those who are leading the rest of us, leading the masses, and it's being played out in such a dramatic way in so many areas. I'll go through a list of these. What are you about to say?
If we looked at the book, it just came to me. 1904. I don't know how often, every day or a couple times a week, they had a time of hate. Remember where they looked at us?
Yeah, hate hour or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Hate hour, and they hated who? Goldstein, was it?
Goldstein
was the enemy, right?
Yeah.
Don't say it. Goldstein was the enemy, so a period of hate.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they're getting that 24 hours, a period of hate.
Yeah.
Okay, evidence and facts don't matter. We spoke about this, that evidence doesn't matter, and you can hate them no matter what. Forget the Constitution, forget the normalcies of this world, forget what's right and wrong. Get rid of him, no matter what.
Yeah.
You know why? Because he's racist.
Yeah.
Okay. Can't be proven. Actually, facts show otherwise. And you're a philosopher. What would be worse? To have someone, let's say Obama, who people say he's not a racist, but his policies don't help the minorities or, blacks and Latins. Yeah. Or let's say Trump was, thinking hypothetically, a true racist. But in order to hide this racism, he puts emphasis to help the people that he despises. Where do you benefit more?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, and I'm not saying this is the case. Yesterday, his State of the Union, we saw African Americans really appreciated and put on a pedestal and not marketed, but they were displayed with vigor yesterday. Am I correct? Now, I don't know if a racist would do that. No?
I don't think he's a racist. I mean, maybe we should just
I don't think so.
Debate that. No, I absolutely don't think so. What do we know is in the heart of a person or in the mind of a person? And there's very little evidence to me. I'm sorry. A racist is as racist says and racist does. Even the things that he said, I don't think that amounts to being a racist. He's just not as careful dancing around these questions of race as, CNN.
But I humbly ask you, we know that.
But the difference between a person who has a bad intent but does well for people,
what I'm saying.
Versus someone who you want to say versus someone who has a good intent but does badly for people. Well, give me the former over the latter.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what people.
It depends. Unless all that people care about is the psychology of their relationship with some sort of a leader, or their psychology with some strain in the culture versus, I thought actually this was supposed to be strict materialist, the left, but versus the material, the opportunity and the money and the healthcare and so on and so forth. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, there's an obsession. It's obvious. There's an obsession.
With Pelosi, Schiff, and the rest of them, the political left, it's personal. And not only that, with people like Sanders and of their ilk and the AOCs and the squad, it's ideological.
Well, may I say something? There's an obsession with the left with appearance and Joseph Stalin cult-like status where appearance means something.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I said this.
He means everything.
Trump, really what it's all about, I think, in the end, is Trump had 5 strikes against him. He's of the wrong color, the wrong sex, the wrong sexual orientation, the wrong religion, and he's not poor. There you go. That's it in a nutshell. If he had anything else, if he were like gay, like Buttigieg, or if he was, or if he were not an avowed Christian and said he was a Muslim, for example, or an atheist, or even a Satanist, they say, oh, so cool, man. There you go. If he weren't so rich and he were like dirt poor, he would be in much better stead from the point of view of those who adhere to a certain identity. Goodness. Anyway, I wanted to say, in terms of the rot of America, I mean, take what's happening in Iowa. That's unbelievable.
How did Buttigieg win?
Well, you know why? The only thing that makes sense to me is that this thing was rigged. How can he win without actually all the votes coming in? But with only 0% of votes coming in, he declared himself a winner. I mean, either that's unbelievable hubris for someone who's supposed to be so humble, or the fix is in. And you can't make this up. Do you know the company that developed the software? It's called Shadow, the Shadow Corporation. So we're talking about a shadowy corporation that casts shade over the first primary, which is supposed to make up for the bizarre political dealings between Clinton and Sanders the last time around. Unbelievable, man.
Yeah, it doesn't.
By the way, Buttigieg gave money. He funded this company called Acronym, which is the parent company for the software company called Shadow, that said that they only spent the last 2 months working on the software. Are they out of mind? And it wasn't even tested. I mean, come on, man. It probably was, manufactured, when something is actually designed to fail. What is that called? Obsolescence. Obsolescence. Yeah, I think so, with all due respect. And so it's weird. I think what happened is, so you typically have, I think it's the Des Moines paper that tells what the polling data suggests like 4 days or so before the Iowa caucus. And they decided not to do that. Why? Because their preferred candidate, which is Biden, or anyone but Sanders, fared so poorly. Biden is ending up running fifth behind. You gotta be kidding me! A 30-something-year-old openly gay man who has no accomplishments, but he's a bad mayor of a small town, with race problems itself. Who lost? Didn't he lose in an election within Indiana?
Well, he lost, I believe, in a statewide election in Indiana. I don't know what it was.
Comptroller or something? Yeah.
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah.
You got to be kidding me, okay? That is quite an embarrassing thing. Let me just say. And Sanders is probably the winner of Iowa, and he's going to probably take it all the way to the Democratic convention, I think, leading them.
May I say one thing? So before this election,
yes,
Biden was favored, right?
Of course.
Okay. So the polls said Biden. He comes in fourth with 15%.
Him in fifth. He seems to be now fifth. Yeah.
Okay, behind Warren, Buttigieg,
Sanders,
and Sanders.
And maybe Klobuchar, maybe.
No, I think he'd be Klobuchar. Now, my question to you is...
I hope so, for goodness sake. All right.
My question is, why does the Democrat Party not want Sanders? Is he too radical?
Of course.
They realize, hold on, the Green New Deal...
Of course.
That it's outrageous?
I think it's two things. I think there are many billionaires and rich people who have been promised to be re-educated in Sanders-like Soviet-style labor camps, and that includes people like us. For goodness' sake.
Well, you're talking about the video you saw, right?
There is a fear. There is an image of Stalin, for goodness' sake, and Pol Pot and Mao Zedong when Sanders speaks. And when you look at the people around them and the squad, so there is some fear about.
Did he not have his honeymoon in a Soviet Union?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, toasting to Stalin. How they got the trains running beautifully.
How do we fall so far?
Well, let me just say. So I think there's a legitimate fear. Same thing with Warren too, on the impact on the economy, because they care about the bottom line in the end. They care about their money and their freedoms as well.
Warren was flipping houses at one time. You know when I found out about Warren? 20 years ago, I believe, I read a book with her and one of her colleagues who was talking about how prices in real estate have gone up exponentially.
Yeah.
And families are hurting because of that. And food and clothing actually is cheaper, but families are falling behind because of the real estate prices.
Okay, know how I found out about Warren? This dates me early 1990s when I was at Harvard Law School and we took over the dean's office. Can you believe this? And I think I spent a terrible night with Michelle Obama, if I'm not mistaken. But don't quote me on that. Yeah, I was in. Yep. Now we were stuck in a room for like all night long, and I think and we were protesting to diversify the faculty, and they came in. They said, "What are you talking about? Don't you understand that we already have a person of color on the faculty, Elizabeth Warren?" I'm like, Elizabeth Warren? She doesn't sound like a person of color here. What are you talking? She's Native American. They told us. Can you believe that? Yeah. No, this is my book, but Michelle Obama. I think in my mind's eye it was Michelle Obama, but don't quote me on that either. Where someone gave some sort of a their works of poetry, and it was like the most pornographic, male-hating.
Oh,
it was horrible, man. I had to listen to that all night long. Can you believe that?
There's a lot of anger there.
Anger. Let me just say on Iowa. All right. So anyway, Buttigieg apparently gave money for this software company called Shadow.
Money?
Yes, of course. They gave it, either from his own pocket or from his company's pocket. There's some sort of relationship between him and the CEO, I think, of that shadowy company.
Okay.
The CEO and the founders of the parent company acronym are all Clintonites. Did you know that? Who were involved in the Clinton campaign. It's unbelievable. And it's so obvious that they want to cover for Biden. So maybe place Buttigieg for Biden because Buttigieg seems like he has a little bit more oomph than Sleepy Joe. And, and let's face it, Hunter, Trump is going to be calling out Hunter Biden all day long. At least Buttigieg seems to have a clean bill of health in a sense, so to speak. So there's some benefit to that. So there's a benefit to that. And they're just scared of Biden. They're scared of what he can do for the economy. They're scared of being taxed to death.
You mean Bernie
Sanders, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're scared of him. So they want to celebrate the mainstream Democrats that are typical crooks who sell out America and probably give us, by hook or by crook, give us, lower our defenses and lower our sovereignty and destroy our sovereignty in order to give us the new world order that they've been promising us.
Michael Savage said about Bernie Sanders, he says he is the type of person that made him leave New York. Born and raised in the Bronx.
Yeah, he's the type of person who made me leave America, for goodness sake. Anyway.
So he says he's the type of person that made me leave.
Yeah.
He's that uncle with the salsa stains on his shirt. who at Thanksgiving annoyed you, who hated the next guy, who had better shoes and a prettier wife. and then Michael Savage said, this guy couldn't work at the French fry department at Katz.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, so funny.
He's good, man. He's good. Proper
but
Bronx.
that angry guy,
Yeah. They used to come into the co-op deli and say they're not paying for it and scream about socialism all day, man. Again, against hardworking Greek. They were Greek people typically that owned the diners, man. Yeah, they were like angry. They were angry, always fighting.
Always a hassle.
No, but they were getting a hassle from the customers who were very much Jewish, and these guys are hardworking Greek folk, and they were getting hassled by maybe the black
guys
folk.
Just like communism.
Yeah. Some juvenile delinquents who would go there and steal a Danish and run away or something like that. Yeah, and they would chase them, for a mile and a half, holding on to their heart. They were fighting all. They were fighting all day long, man, all day long.
No exaggeration. The diner in my loop, I forget what it was called, Treetop Diner.
Yeah, that's right.
Great meals there.
Dude, you can only get one meal there, just a burger or an omelet. That's it.
Yeah. Well, but you could bet your salary for the week that you were going to hear an old lady complain. So you sit down, and I'm ultra nice. I'm almost too accommodating. I don't want them to feel guilty that I'm there to some degree. I don't think
I ever returned a plate in my life, no matter how bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm sitting down, and you know it. There's an old lady. The Danish is cold. But I go, do you want me to heat it up? Yes. Brings it back.
Yeah.
Now it's too hot. You're like, then you hear the old lady. Is Michael in? Is Michael here?
Michael? Who's Michael?
Like the manager, whatever his name was.
Oh, come on.
Bring him out. And it was like an attempt to get a free Danish,
But no, it was like, I'm not paying for it. You already ate it. I'm not paying for it. I didn't enjoy it.
You ate 100% of the Danish. You didn't like it, but you want it for free. Oh my!
Even worse was when I was with Boo and my father, man. May rest in peace. The dudes, Boo, Raquel, man, my stepmother, for goodness sake, from Morocco. What's wrong with you, man? My Jewish, Boo, man, you know that, boo. But anyway, I was hanging out with them, before I left for England, then to France. I was with them in Hallandale, Florida. Man, and every morning I would, that's my routine, take my laptop and go to Starbucks. And I had to hear every morning, I'm not paying for this. I'm never coming. I mean, it's coffee. This is terrible. It's €3. I think I did a few times. Put my hand in my pocket, just give them the money, for goodness sake.
So annoying. I don't like to be around people like that, man.
Nah, toxic personalities. But let me just tell you. Yeah. What were you about to say?
No, I was going to say after you speak, we'll briefly talk about the State of the Union.
Yeah, I want to. All right, let me set this up a little bit. So I was going to talk about Iowa. What a disaster! I mean, as I don't want to repeat what people keep.
So the fix is in. The fix was in.
The fix is in, and okay, in a worst case scenario, no, maybe in a better scenario, that they were just incompetent. I don't know if it's worse or better. They're both equally bad. So they want to suggest that they're going to control every aspect of our life, and they can't even just count properly. Oh, did you see the retard? Did you see that actually? So when there's a tie break, between, for example, which happened quite often, apparently, between Buttigieg and I would imagine it's Biden, that the tiebreak is broken by a coin toss. Did you see that? Dude, even the coin toss, because they had it on film, this dude was, either incompetent or was rigged.
A tiebreaker?
A tiebreak between, I think, votes or delegates, and who gets all the delegates in a certain district between the two. And, dude, this guy flipped a coin and went, and he looked at it and, what do you want, heads? And then he gave him, the votes go to Buttigieg. You got to take a look at it. It's the most retarded coin toss.
You can't use that word retarded anymore.
Oh, sorry. I'm going to edit that part.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay. Mentally incompetent.
Outlandish.
Special.
Outlandish.
It is. You can't make this up. The Shadow Corporation casting shade. This shadow over the whole electoral process. They're going to take it away from Bernie. I'm not sure if I blame them because he's a scary brother. Let me tell you, man. So
Michael Savage says he looks like your uncle. He looks harmless.
Yeah.
He's not the one that's going to put you in the ovens, but he'll have other people do it.
Well, I don't think he can. No. And Biden wants to fight everyone. He wants, he grabs you by the lapel.
I'll challenge you to push-ups, man.
Grabs you by the lapel and says, "Don't vote for me." I think if he pisses off the Donald enough, I think the Donald might get him in a head yoke. I'll put my money on the Donald.
He's so entertaining. I can tell you, I love watching him. He really makes me laugh.
Wait, which one? Biden or Trump? Oh, I think Trump is even funnier, but you tell me, man.
Okay, yeah, but Biden, yeah. But Trump's trying to be funny. Biden just is.
Tell me.
He's just mucking it all up.
I'll beat him like a drum.
Doesn't want to be there. He was pushed into this.
You think so?
He has no stamina.
Really?
He has no stamina, no energy.
Really?
He doesn't have the stomach for this.
You don't think he wants this?
No.
Really?
Come on. Just like Hillary.
I'll beat him like a drum.
They were anointed, huh?
What's this? I'll beat him like a drum. If I have to hear that one more time, I'll beat him like a drum.
I know we said this many a time.
Tell me about corn pop.
I love when he talks about, let's say, illegal immigration or something, and he says, "That's not who we are." And he just keeps saying that over and over. Wait, hold on. He said something maybe a couple of months ago. Yeah, you got something like this. And then we're worried about China?
Yeah.
China got nothing on us, man.
Yeah.
Japan, they were choking Japan in the 90s, man.
Unbelievable.
It didn't work out that way.
Wait, tell about corn pop, man. Corn pop. Corn pop. Tell me about corn pop.
The way he was getting an award at the where he was a lifeguard, and he set it all up. He said, "Look, I was a lifeguard here. I was the only white lifeguard in a town that was changing. And right over here there was a fence, and that's where the diving board was. And there was a guy that came in, and his name was Corn Pop." Wait, and Corn Pop was a bad dude who ran with bad men. And I said, "Hey, Esther Williams," this was his knock on him. He called him Esther Williams. I don't know who that is, but Esther Williams.
The swimmer. What are you talking about? From the classic the MGM films.
Okay, so he was there to he said "Hey dummy" instead of "Hey dummy." He called Corn Pop a female. "Hey, Esther Williams," to humiliate him. "You can't go on that diving board with that hat." Corn Pop, so he said, "Esther Williams, you can't." And then Corn Pop got off the diving board or something and said, "I'll see you later. You're going to meet my razor blade or something."
Oh, whoa, wow.
Yeah. So then Biden goes, "Remember the old days, what they did with the razor blade? They wet it, and then they hit it on the sidewalk, so the blade would get tougher, and then they left the blade in a pail of water, so it get rusty.
Dude, you know what? Corn Pop? Know who Corn Pop is? Malcolm freaking Walton, buddy,
the guy
from Secor. From Secor, man. Yep, I'm gonna tell that story.
He threatened to cut you.
Dude, he threatened the teacher. He threatened every single one. He had a gang that was recording all the combinations on our lockers, so that, when we're in music, he was cleaning us out. He stole all my comic books. I'm still upset about this, man.
What did he take?
I still want to march the bus. He's probably still living in Secor, man.
You have Iron
Man number 1, okay? I had Conan number 2 or number 3, and I had Iron Man number 1, and I had all.
You want me to look for him?
Yeah, I've been looking around for him. Yeah, if he's still alive, man, that'd be cool, man. We have a reckoning here, man.
Probably laugh. Look, I remember Chris. I took his Iron Man 1.
Man, but I got him back a few times. I got him back many a times from that fatal fight in the 5th grade. I got on head yoke, man. Yeah, I stood up. That was a fatal moment in my life. That's one of the forks in the road of my life.
Well, one of my forks was when I fought in your loop with the bully. I
was there, right? That's when you took him, right?
Yeah.
I coached you.
You were like, just hit him. You said this. He's your own Corn Pop. Your key here is just not backing down. Let him know, you're willing to stand in front of him, and I did.
There you go. But let me say, what Malcolm.
By the way, he's retiring from the police department 25 years.
Really? Serious?
Lonnie.
Dude, that's scary. Oh, yeah, I remember him.
He was an evil kid who became really nice. He became a great wrestler.
Man. I hope Malcolm Walton is on his way to sainthood. Let me tell you, he's about the most evil kid I've ever met in my life. Okay? Yeah, I tell you that. I would come back from Harvard Law School. I'm in his Harvard Law School, and I was back in the ghetto, man, around Secor. And then I'm like, let me stop here for a slice, around Secor, around where Camille went to school, Holy Rosary, I think. You know that place?
Oh, you went to Holy Rosary?
Damn, I have a great memory.
You got a next pizza.
I have a freaking great memory. It was like yesterday. Anyway, yeah. So I'm like, I think it was it was a stop after.
St. Catherine's for high school.
No, not St. Catherine. I'm talking the grammar school. I think the grammar school was called Holy Rosary.
Holy Rosary is right by Nick's Pizza, Chris.
Yeah, no, it's not that one, actually. All right, what's the stop? What's the Spellman stop? What is that called? Dyer or Baychester?
Dyer.
What's the stop after Dyer? Is that stop?
No, excuse me. Spellman's Baychester, then there's Dyer before.
Dyer, so it's a Dyer. There's a pizza shop under Dyer where Camille went to. Maybe it's a stop after Dyer. What's the stop after Dyer?
I'm not a train guy.
All right, whatever. So anyway, whatever. I was in the pizza shop. And let me get a slice. And I heard that voice again from my youth. They used to put, chills down your back,
20
man.
years later?
Dude, like Corn Pop. He said Corn Pop on steroids. I mean, he's much more dangerous than Corn Pop, man. The guy was about 3 foot nothing. He was about this tall.
He's like Gazoo with a gun.
He was about the size of Boo, for goodness sake. But he was scary as hell, let me tell you, man. All right. And anyway, and of course, so I heard that voice again. And what was he doing? He was threatening the life of the Italian pizza man. I'll kill you, man. You know who I am? You know my reputation? It was like from the Wild West.
They know that the Italians have the mafia?
Dude, it's like, a scene from the 5 Points, man, let me tell you. And, well, I don't know. These guys are scared. Like, the guy was like, all right, man, it's just pizza. I'll give it to you, No, man, if you don't show me respect, I'm going to,
Don't shame me, man.
Yep, I'm going to gat you or whatever, man. I'm telling you. And this guy had a reputation because he went around talking about all the people he killed in the neighborhood. There you go.
Are you serious?
Right? Yeah, and I'm like, let me get my slice and get out of here. Yo, what's up, man? What's up, Chris?
It's cool with you, right?
Yeah, well, because I fought that one time.
You earned credibility. You earned credibility by standing up to him.
Yeah, I could tell because he said, yo, man, because I was. It was like, yo, man, why when we were in the dean's office, although I was going to get thrown out of school for that fight, yo, why we fight like this, man? I want you to be down with my gang. So he kind of recruited me for his gang at that point, But I was kind of in his gang before that. I was like a double agent.
Your way, like
I was a double agent. By the way, I was kind of running with him, but I was like a double agent. I wasn't into it. You know what I mean? It was a real Russian collusion
type.
You were
into some things. You into some things like maybe eating candy and pizza, but you didn't want to steal it.
I was getting information. I was getting counterintelligence, to know when to, work my way out of that situation. He had no lie. He had terrorized the whole of the 5th grade. This little hoodlum, man, I have to say. But anyway, so one of those telling moments in my life. And then I saw him like 3 or 4 times on the gridiron when it was like C-Corps versus our section 3.
How old were you?
12 years old, 11, 12. I had Cliff with me, man. We had pads. One time we didn't have pads. This guy was on roids because I don't think he had the discipline to just live in a gym. But he was like this at some point. Then we caught him doing a hard, hard 2-hand touch in our loop, which ended up being tackle on concrete. And I was just tackling. He was tackling me. I was tackling him, which happened one too many times.
Hold on. Why do these guys always come to us? Like, it's almost like the refugees. They hate us, but they come to us.
What do you mean, C-Corps, you mean?
Yeah, they come to Co-op City or the Valley.
Well, it's funny because I remember this. There was like some kid who was in Co-op day camp, and he was like, the projects. I'm in the projects. I'm like, and we all took offense in calling Co-op City the projects. But relative to C-Corps, we were a step up in life. That's weird. The great socialist experiment.
Co-op City had great housing. In that, really.
And quite honestly, it was a great socialist experiment.
Let me say something.
Yeah.
You always had air conditioning. You always had heat. Things worked well. There were stable families. Seriously. I can remember maybe being picked on by somebody, and my father said, oh, I know his father. I'll speak to him. Even though I didn't want to, complain about anyone. I handled all my battles alone. But that's how it was then,
Yeah, there was a community there, man. I always assumed that I assume you get more of a community when you live in a more traditional neighborhood, in New York City, like the South Bronx, man, or Harlem. I'm not sure about that. You barely know the people on your block. That's my impression. You know a couple of the vendors.
Spanish American Club.
But in Co-op City, man, you knew the girls who were hot. You kknow the girls who were not. That you want to get away from.
You know what was great? It was like
the corn pops of the world. You want to run away from.
It was like being a part of a golf club growing up, to some degree, in that you grew up with these girls and their fathers and mothers growing up at the Spanish American Club, which was 99% Puerto Rican. We had John Ferriello, who's phenomenal, but no one really cared. If you were African American, you were part of it. We actually had a lot of Jewish people.
So who are some of it was a multi-ethnic melting pot. A beautiful melting pot in many ways. There were divisions and there were conflicts, but at the same time, we would come together at the same time too, I have to say. People dated across ethnic lines. We're all about the same socioeconomically, which is very interesting.
You couldn't be more exact than what we were. We all knew what you were paying for your rent, right? Yeah. Someone had maybe an apartment that was less than, the townhouse, but there wasn't, we all lived in the same area.
Yeah. And Sonia Sotomayor, I think she's from Co-op City, or at least she had relations in Co-op City.
Yeah, she was married to the Gutierrez's, and my niece saw her at a Yankee game.
Oh, that's
Remember,
cool.
my father got her that judgeship with George Bush.
Oh, my goodness. You got to be kidding me.
She even told my niece about 10 years ago, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for your grandfather.
But that's funny because your father, and you should talk about that, is a Republican. He was one of the prominent Hispanic Republicans in the country under Gerald Ford.
The beauty of this was, you weren't vilified back then.
Really?
But I do recall one incident where my father went to an event with me.
Yeah.
And one of the assemblywomen who's been there forever, I believe her last name's Arroyo, made a speech, and she was like, pointing out my father, I think, for supporting Pataki or something against Cuomo. And my father was like stymied by it, like, are you kidding me? I don't have any choice here. Pataki won. I was right. I support you guys too, but I believe in what they're pushing.
And that's what Ben Carson just said. Yeah, someone made I forgot her name, just made some horrible reference to him as being some sort of a token black with the Trump team, Yeah. And he's like, a true racist are those people who constantly see every dimension of life through the lens of race. Okay, that's a true
I
racist.
just had this discussion.
Not every single thing should be lowered by sullied by the notion of race. Okay,
I had this
anything with
discussion
sex and class and all that
Right.
stuff. Let me just say. And the other thing is, there's a wonderful expression. Just because one has an ounce of melanin in them, maybe the two of us, doesn't mean that one must think and act in a certain way. We have a freedom to think.
We have
according to our
choice.
conscience and act according to our conscience.
Well, once again, we have choice. If I like heavy-set woman, that's my choice to feel that. If I believe welfare has hurt people through my research, that's my conclusion. If I believe that I like Renaissance painting over modern painting, that's my choice, or vice versa.
Yeah.
We all are not built the same. But I had one schmuck, excuse me, French, tell me, because I'm a Republican, I'm abandoning my people.
Oh my goodness.
Said, what do you mean? Well, you're Puerto Rican, so you're black.
Yeah.
I said, if you know truth, being Puerto Rican, you're a combination of everything.
It's multi-ethnic. Right.
Yes. You're European and you're native Siboney or Taino Indian. So you're black. You're black. You're trying to hide it. I said,
oh my goodness.
If everyone's black. I said, if that's the case, then why call anyone white? Or why have arguments about race if we're all black? It's so stupid. It's so stupid. So then he's posting things.
You sure IQ has risen by 20, 30 points?
No, I don't believe so. Then he's posting things where he's mocking men who are feminized. I said, who's pushing that? That's the Democrats, not the Republicans.
Yeah.
And he has no response. But hey, I just wanted to tell you, I looked at the fact checking of Trump's state of.
Yeah, let me set that up because that's why I invited you to do this podcast today. So the State of Union address was yesterday, and I was shocked. I didn't catch it at first, but when they replayed it and they showed Pelosi, Madam Speaker, tearing up the president's speech, I was horrified. I have to say,
right.
That's a new low for the country. I do have to say. What exactly is she protesting against? I'm trying to understand that. I mean, I know it was a partisan speech. I understand that. He was courting the black vote and the Latino vote and the working class vote. Essentially, he's beating them on all grounds. And not all cylinders are firing at the same time because he has to fight the impeachment battle and a lot of other things. Imagine he had more support than he has now, what he could get done. But it's been the most successful week or 2 weeks in all of political history. I can't imagine anything better than this. The economy is shooting through the roof, breaking all types of records for all peoples, the peoples that we considered most vulnerable, most victimized by a vicious capitalist system, so they would tell us, over the last century. I mean, these are the people who are making the most gains, for goodness sake. Black employment, Latino employment, female employment is greater than ever before. Wages are rising among blue-collar workers. Factories are returning. We lost 60,000 factories. So imagine how many industrial jobs that constitutes. We lost steel. Let me just say, we lost the automotive industry. And over a generation or so, at the hands of NAFTA and trade with China and with the rest of the world. And then he comes along and within 3 years, he brings back 12,000 factory jobs. Did you know that? 12,000 factories and 7 million jobs in total. So what are they protesting against is what I'm trying to figure out. Are they protesting against the Tuskegee Airmen, for goodness sake? Or Rush Limbaugh, who's dying here?
Yeah. They are protesting. It's very simple. They want their
free choice among children? Yeah.
They want their side to win. Anything he does is wrong and vilified. And I printed out the New York Times.
I think it's more than that. Let me just say that thing. They're also protesting against the most innocent of all life, the protection of life within the womb. It's unbelievable. Okay, but go ahead, please. I think they're not just spoilers. Let me just say this one last thing. But I think they're ideologically motivated in ways that are substantively against Trump and the Trump movement. That's my whole point. So they say that life should be respected at the point that a woman determines when a life should be respected. And we say no, that there is a God above, which is a factual claim, and there's a normative claim that there are consequences to the reality that there is a God above. Okay?
Yeah, well, that's an issue that everyone's not going to agree on, because not everyone believes there's a God.
But this is the divide that I'm trying to suggest here.
It's
one of the rough divides.
We could all, once again, we could all have a belief and come to some understanding that life is precious, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I just thought about this. Otherwise, there wouldn't be laws against killing somebody, right? Yeah. Or, I mean, am I wrong? There wouldn't be laws against murder, right?
Right.
So even if you're not religious, you don't believe your life is precious because God has influenced your creation and endowed you with the thought of reason and being a human being, we could all agree on that. But let me just go on this here.
Yeah, because she said she was tearing up things that were filled with lies. So go ahead, try to correct the record.
Yeah, but we could use the same, liberal argument, which they try to do, to try to indict us and say, okay, you ripped up the whole speech, so that means you're anti-Tuskegee Airman, you're anti that young girl getting an education.
Yeah.
The young African, which we know they are, because the UFT, I mean, they have their power base. They are against these charter schools. We know that.
Of course, yeah.
Even though it's been proven, as Thomas Sowell proved or wrote about in numerous publications, that these charter schools take everyone. I spoke to my frat brother who was a teacher, and he said, no, charter schools get to handpick the best students, and that's why their grades are better than the average students. Yeah. That's not true, I heard. I mean, you could correct me if I'm wrong. I heard they go from a pool of just regular kids, and they almost shape them in a military fashion into succeeding. But let me get into this. So fact-checking Trump's State of the Union address and the Democratic response. This is the New York Times, where I know we call it the old York Times, and the New York Times has been wrong and so biased against this president. No. But I was shocked to read what they wrote here. And it's actually a lot in favor of Donald Trump.
Yeah, so let me say, if there's a source that goes against its type or goes against its interest, then it has more credibility in a court of law than otherwise. So
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay.
Meaning that the Times even wasn't able to distort the things that he said, because you hear from the Democrats, it's all BS. Nancy rips everything up, meaning she invalidates everything. Okay, this is by Linda Q, Q-I-U, and here's one of the quotes. This might be a little long-winded. This is Trump being quoted. Those three bills and more than 275 other bipartisan bills are just gathering dust on Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's desk. This is what she says. She says, this is exaggerated. Exaggerated, not that it's false. So then let's see what they say.
Yep.
It's a stretch to claim that all 275 pieces of legislation have garnered bipartisan support. According to the nonpartisan factcheck.org, I don't know who they are, half pass by a voice vote, and at least 24 of those bills pass with fewer than 17 Republican votes. Okay. So Republicans voted for it along with Democrats. In this day and age, that's pretty good, right? Because we're looking at bipartisan down the line, the impeachment.
No, partisan down the line, you mean? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Okay. Of the three bills, Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan cited the Paycheck Fairness Act passed with just 7 Republican votes. The Raise the Wage Act had 3 Republicans on board. And your favorite, the Elijah Cummings Lower Drug Costs Now Act garnered 2 Republican votes. Okay. It garnered some Republican votes. Not what we're all looking for, right? But some. Okay. So that's one. Okay. Another one, Trump said, American workers are hurting in my own state. Our neighbors in Wisconsin and Ohio and Pennsylvania, all over the country, wages have stagnated. This is just something that was said. While CEO pay has skyrocketed. That's a Democratic response or what they said.
Yeah.
And she says this lacks content. Okay, so it's not backed up. I'm giving you an example. I'm just going through all this stuff.
Yeah.
Here's something that's a definitive. Trump said this is the first major trade deal in many years to earn the strong backing of America's labor unions.
Yeah.
She says flat out, this is true.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going down a line here. You could cut me off. Let me give you one more.
Yeah.
Then I'll find some else. Trump said, as we defend American lives, we are working to end America's war in the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
He said this is partly true. That's good. In that the Trump administration is closer to a peace settlement with the Afghan Taliban than any previous administration.
Mm-hmm.
President Trump has promised a complete withdrawal from Afghanistan, though he's yet to order it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the intentions are there. But since May, Trump has actually deployed more than 14,000 troops to the Middle East to deter Iran from potential attacks. The partial troop withdrawal from Syria was just that, partial. Okay. But what I'm trying to say, this is the New York Times, which would love to vilify him. It appears that they have done so for the last 3 years.
Yes.
And it goes against with what Nancy's ripping up the document will let you believe that everything he said is false. Well, and as you said, how could we go against this Tuskegee airman who's a hero who fought in numerous wars, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, especially World War II, when he didn't have the rights of the average citizen.
Yeah. And what about the vet who showed up to unite with his beautiful family? Goodness, who just came back, I think, second tour from Afghanistan. I had tears in my eyes. That was beautiful.
Right.
That was really beautiful. What a beautiful family, let me tell you. Anyway, let's wrap this up.
Let me just say one more thing. I'll give you one more quote.
It's a shame. All I can say, it's a shame. I was shocked by what she had done. I mean, that's just a new low for politics. But go ahead, please.
Let me give you one more. Over 100, and this is by Margaret Sanger Katz. Over 100, here's a quote. Over 130 legislators in the chamber have endorsed legislation that would bankrupt our nation by providing free taxpayer-funded health care to millions of illegals, forcing taxpayers to subsidize free care for anyone in the world who unlawfully crosses our borders.
Unbelievable.
Our response is, this is mostly true.
Okay, well.
I mean, very...
Enough said.
Here's one more, and I'll leave you with this because you brought it up. Following NAFTA's adoption, our nation lost 1 in 4 manufacturing jobs.
Unbelievable.
This is Anna Swanson.
Unbelievable.
She says this is misleading, but the United States has lost 4 million of its 17 million factory jobs since NAFTA went into effect. That's correct. 1 out of 4.
Wow.
I don't know why it's misleading, but she says American factory employment actually increased in the years after the deal going into effect. Few economists blame the trade deal for this kind of loss, but you could see it's a mixed bag. And may I end with this one thing?
The truth. The bottom line is the truth shall set ye free. That's what this is.
Yes, I was watching MSNBC earlier today, and they had a guest on. I don't know if he was an economist, but they were comparing Trump's economic job creation his first 3 years in comparison to Obama's. Yeah. And this this person, I forget his name, said Obama's job creation was the equivalent to Trump's job creation. Now, once again, I learned when I was 6, you have to ask the question who, what, where, and whom, and where's this coming from?
When, why, and whom.
Yes, that also.
And how.
Excuse me. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, of course, Obama was going to have an increase in jobs. We were coming out of a recession. He had more room to grow. He grew the economy in his 8 years, and then Trump took over and continued to grow in an environment that wasn't as easy to grow as Obama's. But they don't tell you these things. They never tell you the context.
No.
So, what they tell you is misleading. And of course, there's many other variables involved. I've heard that Trump has added trillions to our economy.
Look, I don't have a PhD in economics from MIT.
I know.
I just have a bachelor's degree in economics from Cornell, okay, which is no way.
I know.
No, let me just say, when someone like Krugman, I just saw a spot on YouTube where Krugman gave a public speech where he said that tax breaks on the wealthiest people, has no economic impact on the country. It's not good for a country. With all due respect, why do I know that I could just destroy that argument very quickly? Maybe I'll do that for the next podcast.
Well, Sol does. Sol basically said in many administrations when taxes were lowered, this is something a little different. Actually, the tax revenues for the government went up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he proves it with every administration.
So then by Krugman's logic and people of his ilk, the Sanders of the world and the Warrens of the world, we might as well tax them to what? 99.9%.
Oh, yeah, Ben Shapiro said it. If taxes are so good, why not tax 100%?
Of course, because it has to do with the particular context, the political and social, psychological situation of a country. Not all countries are the same. Not all countries have the same benefit from deregulation and from taxes. I mean, when people are not motivated in the same way and not organized in the same way, I'm sorry. They don't also have the same institutions. The multiplier effect of tax breaks and of deregulation or regulation have different impacts in different contexts. I mean, we can't deny that. But also, then by that logic, one might as well tax people to the nth degree until they have no income, and then everything will then be by the benefice of the government itself that can't even count votes.
Yeah, Ben Shapiro said that to you.
So it has to do. Let me just say. So it has to do with the proper balance in the right context, the proper balance between taxes at a given point in history. But you can't say to court that taxes are bad or taxes are good. It depends on the situation. Anyway, go ahead.
No, Ben Shapiro said that when he was debating the guy from the Young Turks or Uyghur, who was saying higher taxes has helped the economy, said then why not tax people 100% if your theory is correct?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, okay. So I'm not.
No, you said that, but Ben Shapiro said it. Yeah.
All right, let me just end on this one note. I think someone on YouTube commented brilliantly on what this is all about. They said, in terms of the mental health of the left, the statement was that the Dems haven't been this mad, this angry since they were forced to free the slaves.
Wow.
I thought that was perfect. I would just add that what Pelosi was really doing in tearing up the president's speech was tearing up the Constitution itself.
That's someone said that. Yeah.
I think so.
Or someone said, what was it? Charlie Kirk, that, her ripping that up represented her ripping up the Constitution.
Or the fabric of American society. That's what they're really about in the end. All right, man.
Yep. Have a good one.
I'll see you soon. I think we should cover equality the next time. Okay?
You got it.
We'll talk.
Have a good one.